I thought my husband was cheating on me. I stalked him. I hired a private investigator. I destroyed my own peace, looking for another woman. And what I found instead made me wish to God he had just been cheating. Because cheating would have been easier than the truth. Listen to the end. Before you decide whose side you're on, I want to be clear about this up front. I didn't imagine the signs. I didn't overreact. And I didn't go looking for trouble for fun. I followed my husband because everything in my body screamed something was wrong. I gathered screenshots, bank statements, photos, videos. I was so sure I was building a cheating case that I had a lawyer bookmarked and divorce papers half filled out. But when the truth finally came out, I realized I'd been preparing for the wrong kind of betrayal. And by the end of this story, you'll understand why I would have preferred an affair over what he was really hiding. So yeah, stick around, because this isn't the story you think it is. My name's Sarah. I'm 32. I'm a nurse. I work long shifts, weird hours, and I come home exhausted more days than not. My husband, Mark, is 35, sales rep, charming, the kind of guy strangers trust instantly. We'd been married 8 years, no kids yet, but not because we didn't want them. We were planning, talking names, arguing playfully about dogs versus cats, saving for a bigger place. And Mark was the husband people used as a comparison. He made me coffee before my early shifts, left sticky notes in my lunch bag, remembered tiny things like how I hated pulp in orange juice and loved dumb crime documentaries. I trusted him so deeply that cheating wasn't even on my radar. I would have bet my life on his loyalty. Which is why, when the changes started, I talked myself out of every single red flag. It started small, almost laughably small. A new cologne, gym memberships, protein shakes, cluttering the counter. He said he wanted to get healthier, and I believed him. Then came the phone thing. He stopped leaving it up, started taking it into the bathroom. Muted notifications at night. But again, I excused myself. Sales guys are busy. Clients, text late. I'm just tired and paranoid. Then the weekends changed. Suddenly, he had business trips, short ones, overnights, trips he never needed before. And every time I asked, he had an answer ready. I remember thinking, am I becoming that insecure wife? So I stayed quiet. And that silence, that's where everything went wrong. The first crack came during a phone call. He was pacing the kitchen, whispering, and then I heard it. Yeah, babe. He froze, corrected himself instantly. Yeah, Jen from accounting. He laughed it off, but I didn't. Then a few nights later, I saw it. His phone lit up on the couch between us, just for half a second, a notification preview. Jessica. That was it. No message, text, just the name and the heart. He flipped the phone face down so fast it felt rehearsed. When I asked who Jessica was, he didn't even look up. Klein, he said. Big account. A heart emoji for a Klein. My stomach dropped. Then came the lie that broke me. He told me he was staying late at the office one night, said the team ordered food, might crash there. I didn't question it until I opened Instagram. A mutual friend had posted stories from a bar across town, and there was Mark in the background laughing. Same jacket, same watch, different location. That's when the thought finally formed, clear as day. I don't think my husband is where he says he is. And once that thought exists, you can't put it back. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I opened my laptop and started looking, 'cause if he was lying to me, I was going to find out why, no matter how much it hurt. I told myself I'd stop if I didn't find anything. I told myself I was just checking. But what I uncovered next, bank statements, hotel charges, and a second email account, was the moment suspicion turned into obsession. And once I crossed that line, there was no going back. Because the evidence didn't just suggest cheating, it screamed. They say you shouldn't go looking for answers if you're not ready for the truth. That's a lie. The truth doesn't arrive all at once. It drips, slow, cruel, and once I started digging, I couldn't stop. I started with the boring stuff, bank statements. At first glance, normal, mortgage, utilities, groceries. Then I noticed at the same upscale restaurant twice a month. Every month they placed Mark and I had been to once for our anniversary. He hated it. Too pretentious. Yet somehow, he kept going back. Then the hotels. not resorts, not romantic getaways, mid-range business hotels, always one night. On days he said he was driving between clients. I did the math. Those hotels were nowhere near his client territories. I felt my chest tighten, so I tried his phone. Middle of the night, slew movements, barely breathing, Face ID failed. I froze when he shifted in his sleep. That's when it hit me. He'd changed his unlock pattern. When did he do that? I checked the shared laptop next, and that's where I found it. A second email account, logged in, then logged out, like he'd forgotten to close a door. Hiring a pie felt insane, like something people did in movies, but I justified it instantly. If I'm wrong, I'll stop. If I'm right, I need proof. The guy was calm, professional, didn't ask why, which somehow made it worse. 3 days later, he sent the first update. Photo smart, standing outside a coffee shop, and a woman, dark hair, late 30s maybe, comfortable, too comfortable. They sat close, heads leaned in, not touching, but intimate in that quiet, emotional way. The kind of intimacy that feels worse than sex, the pie said. No obvious PDA yet. Yet, I zoomed in on her face, burned it into my memory. Jessica. I whispered her name like it tasted bitter that night. Mark kissed my forehead and asked how my shift went. I almost laughed. If you think this is where I lost my mind, wait until you hear what he said when I finally confronted him. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse. I laid it out gently, asked about the restaurant charges, the hotel stays. He sighed, long, tired. Sarah, it's work. I asked to see his phone. He stiffened. Company policy, he said. Client confidentiality. That was it. That refusal sealed everything, because when you're innocent, you don't protect your phone more than your marriage. He flipped it on me fast. Why are you interrogating me? You don't trust me anymore. I apologized, hated myself for it. I told my best friend. She didn't hesitate. Once they hide their phone, it's over. That sentence echoed in my head for days. I went deeper. That second email account. I got in receipts, jewelry, not cheap, not subtle. A flower delivery, not to a house, to an address I didn't recognize. Then I saw her name saved in his contacts. Jessica, with a note attached. Something personal. Something I shouldn't have seen. My hands were shaking so bad I had to sit on the floor. This wasn't flirting. This wasn't a fling. This was ongoing, intentional, planned. At that point, I wasn't asking if he was cheating anymore. I was asking how long, how deep, and how stupid did he think I was. I thought I had enough, but then I made the mistake that changed everything. I decided not just to watch, but to interact. I sent a text from a number that wasn't mine, pretending to be someone else, and the reply I got back for words convinced me. My marriage was already dead. There's a moment when suspicion stops feeling like anxiety and starts feeling like clarity. That's the moment you stop asking questions and start collecting proof. And once I crossed that line, I didn't care what it cost. I did something I'm not proud of, but I was done being confused. I checked the navigation history in Mark's car. Same destination, over and over. Not an office, not a client site, a location saved without a name. That's when I noticed the landline caller IDA number kept popping up, saved as just one letter, J. I stared at it for a long time. Then I texted it. Not me, not as Sarah. I pretended to be a co-worker. Hey, are you still seeing Mark this weekend? My heart was pounding so loud I thought I'd pass out. 3 dots appeared. Then the reply came in. Yeah, same place as usual. He really needs this right now. I dropped my phone. Because nothing about that sounded professional. Nothing about that sounded innocent. That message rewired something in my brain. This wasn't casual. This wasn't accidental. This was planned. The PI sent another update 2 days later. Clearer photos, this time. Mark and Jessica at an expensive restaurant, the same one from the bank. Statements they weren't touching, which somehow made it worse. Mark looked emotional, wiping his eyes, leaning forward like she was the only person in the world. Then I saw it. He slid a small gift bag across the table. I knew immediately. The jewelry, the receipt I'd found. I felt sick. My husband, spoiling his side piece, with money from our joint account. I sat on the bathroom floor afterward and laughed. That hollow broken laugh you make when reality finally snaps into place. I thought the photos were the worst part. I was wrong. Because what I found next felt like a confession written in ink. That night, Mark took a long shower. I went to his car, hands shaking, heart racing. I checked the glove compartment. Nothing center, console. Nothing. Then the side pocket. An envelope. Handwritten. I pulled the letters out. My vision blurred as I read. I don't know how much longer I can pretend everything is normal. She deserves the truth, but I'm not ready. I hate lying, but I don't see another way. I couldn't breathe. These weren't flirty texts. These were emotional, heavy. Real. I also found printed hotel confirmations. Jessica's city is listed as the destination. Multiple dates. I didn't read "She deserves the truth" out of concern. Read it as guilt. As him planning went on how to finally admit the affair to me. And at that moment, any love I still had curdled into rage. The final straw came on a Tuesday. He said he had late client drinks. I didn't argue. I followed them. I stayed 2 cars back. Every turn he made tightened my chest. He drove toward the hospital district. For half a second, I hesitated, then he kept going, past the parking garages. He pulled into a quiet lot near a large, dim building. I parked across the street, watched. Jessica arrived minutes later. They stood outside, talked. Then dashed. They hugged, not a quick hug, a full-bodied one, the kind you give someone when words aren't enough. From my angle, it looked intimate. Private. Secret. I recorded everything. My hands were ice cold. My mind was clear. This was it. I had a video, photos, receipts, texts. I called a lawyer the next morning. I wasn't sad anymore. I was ready. I walked into our house that night with my evidence laid out like a courtroom exhibit. I thought I was about to expose an affair instead. The first thing Mark said after seeing the photos made my stomach drop. Because the woman I thought was his mistress wasn't his mistress at all. I thought this was the part where I won. Where I laid out the evidence, watched him crack, and finally got the truth I'd been chasing for months. I was right about one thing. The truth did come out. I was just wrong about what it was. I waited for him at the kitchen table. Everything was laid out in neat rows. Photos from the PI, bank statements, hotel receipts, printed screenshots, the video of the hug. It looked clinical, like I was presenting a case, not confronting my husband. When Mark walked in and saw it all, he didn't yell, didn't deny, didn't even ask where I got it. He just went pale, sit down slowly, and whispered, "You followed me to the facility? Not who this woman is. Not what you are talking about. The facility." That word hit me wrong. I told him I knew everything, told him I'd seen Jessica, the gifts, the hotels. That's when he said it. Quiet, almost afraid. "Jessica's my sister." I laughed. Actually, I laughed. Because I'd never heard of a sister, not once. Not in 8 years. I told him to stop lying. That's when he broke. I thought the lie was that he was cheating. I didn't realize the lie was that he'd been hiding an entire life. Mark told me he was adopted. I knew that, but I didn't know was that his adoptive parents had cut off contact with his biological family completely. Jessica was his biological sister. Same mother, different last names. The woman in that building, their mother. The facility I followed him to was a long-term care center, locked unit, neurological wing, early onset, degenerative, the kind of place you don't come back from. The hotel stays near the facility, the restaurant, the only decent place within walking distance. The jewelry, a thank you gift, because Jessica had been doing this with him for years, handling paperwork, meeting doctors, advocating when he couldn't be there. I felt my anger wobble, but I wasn't ready to forgive. Not yet. Then Mark looked at me. Really looked at me and said the sentence that changed everything. "I have it too." I didn't understand at first. The same disease. Inherited. Genetic. The tests. The gym obsession. The secrecy. Not cheating. Preparing. He'd been seeing specialists, getting scans, meeting lawyers. Jessica wasn't his affair partner. She was his anchor. He told me he didn't say anything because I wanted you to have a few more months of normal. I didn't want to become your patient. That's when I lost it. Suddenly, I wasn't just angry. I was grieving. Grieving a future that was quietly being erased without my consent. So, no, my husband wasn't cheating. He was planning for his own decline. And I was standing there with divorce papers ready while he was trying to protect me from a truth that would destroy us both. But here's the part no one talks about. What do you do when the person you love lies to save you? People think the hardest part is learning the truth. It's not. The hardest part is living with what the truth takes from you. Because once the secret was out, nothing went back to normal. Not us, not me, not the future I thought I was fighting for. The house felt different after that night, too. Quiet, like even the walls were waiting for something to collapse. Mark slept on the couch. I didn't tell him to. He just did. We moved around each other like strangers, careful, polite, broken. Every time I looked at him, I saw two versions: the man I thought betrayed me, and the man quietly dying in front of me, and I hated that both could exist at the same time. Everyone tells you regret looks like guilt. It doesn't. It looks like anger, with nowhere to go. I replayed everything: the pie, the texts, the video. How close I came to destroying him before he even got sick enough to ask for help. And yet a part of me was furious. Because he decided for me. I decided I couldn't handle the truth. Decided I'd rather be lied to than included. I decided my role was caretaker, not partner. That's not protection. That's control. And once I named it, I couldn't unsee it. I forgave him in my head, but my heart wanted something else. Here's the part people judge me for. Didn't leave him, but I didn't stay the same either. I went back to that. Lawyer. Not for divorce, for information. Power. I learned what my future legally looked like. Medical directives, financial safeguards, caregiver boundaries. I made him sign papers. Not out of spite, but because love without boundaries turns into resentment. And resentment poisons everything. Jessica understood. She told me something I'll never forget. He was trying to save you, but he forgot you're stronger than he is. That broke me. I confronted Mark again. Not with evidence this time, with truth. I told him, you don't get to disappear on me quietly. You don't get to rewrite our marriage without my consent. If we're doing this, we do it together, out loud. And for the first time since this started, he cried. Not from fear, from relief. We didn't divorce. We didn't pretend everything was okay either. But the real twist, the choice I made next, is the one people argue about the most. Because it changed who held the power and how this story ends. Everyone thinks this story ends with forgiveness. It doesn't. It ends with a choice. And depending on who you ask, I either saved us or betrayed him in a way cheating never could. Once the paperwork was signed, something subtle changed. Not in Mark, in me. For months, I'd been reacting, chasing, spiraling. Now I knew exactly where I stood. I wasn't just his wife anymore. I was his legal voice. If he lost his own, and that power, it's heavier than love, because suddenly everything depended on me. What doctors he saw, what treatments he tried, how much of the truth we shared with others. And I realized something uncomfortably had robbed me of choice before. Now I was the one holding it. Mark assumed we'd keep the diagnosis private, just us, just Jessica. He said he wanted normal. Bet I'd learned what secrets do. They rot things from the inside. So I made a decision without asking him. I told my parents, his adoptive parents, and a few close friends. Not details. Not timelines, just the truth. He's sick, and it's not going away. When he found out, he was furious. Said I violated his trust, said it wasn't my story to tell. And maybe he was right. But here's the thing, I was done protecting lies, even compassionate ones. This is where people stop agreeing with me. So ask yourself, would you have stayed quiet? Or would you have chosen honesty? The truth changed how people looked at him. Some leaned in, some pulled away. But Mark stopped pretending he was fine, stopped chasing normal. And for a while, he resented me. We fought, not about cheating, about control, about dignity, about whether love means shielding someone or standing beside them when everything is exposed. And slowly, something unexpected happened. He started letting me in. Here's the part I don't feel guilty about. I stopped apologizing for the pie, for the confrontation, for suspecting him. If he'd trusted me from the start, none of this would have happened. I told him that. Calmly, clearly, and instead of denying it, he nodded. That acknowledgement, that accountability, it healed more than forgiveness ever could. We didn't divorce, but we didn't stay married the same way either. We rewrote the rules. I stayed with his wife, not his martyr, not his nurse, his partner, with boundaries. With truth, with eyes wide open. And some nights, I still think about how close I came to leaving him over a lie that was meant to save me. I started this story thinking I was hunting for an affair. But the real secret, my husband didn't trust me with his weakness. And the sickest part of all, that hurt more than betrayal ever could. So now I want to know, if you were me, would you have stayed silent to protect him? Or would you have done what I did and dragged the truth into the light, even if it broke something forever? Tell me in the comments whose side you're on. And if you stayed until the end, thank you for hearing my confession.